Hi, I'm Tia. That morning, I was buzzing around the kitchen, marinating chicken and chopping vegetables for the salad. The familiar aroma of garlic and rosemary filled the air, usually a comforting presence. But today it did little to calm my nerves. I was preparing for a family dinner, one that needed to impress my in-laws, particularly Adam's mother. From the wedding day forward, she'd made it subtly clear that I wasn't quite the daughter-in-law she'd envisioned. As the clock ticked closer to 6 p.m., I put the final touches on the table. Crystal wine glasses and floral centerpieces meticulously arranged. I felt a flutter of excitement despite the anxiety. This dinner could be a new beginning, a chance to win them over at last. You need any help, babe? Adam popped his head into the kitchen, offering a smile that seemed supportive, though his eyes were distracted, probably by the football game blaring in the living room. No, I've got it under control, thanks, I replied, flashing a quick smile while trying to mask my growing anxiety. He nodded and disappeared back to the couch, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The doorbell rang, and my heart skipped a beat. First to arrive were Adam's siblings, Lucas and Sophie, both smiling warmly with bottles of wine in hand. They were always the neutral ones, easygoing and polite. Everything smells amazing, Tia, Sophie complimented as she set her wine on the counter. Thank you. I hope it tastes as good as it smells, I said, leading them to the dining room. Moments later, Adam's parents arrived. His mother, Martha, entered with a barely there smile, her eyes critically sweeping over the house. Adam rushed to greet her, eager to please, his steps hurried. Mom, Tia has really outdone herself with the preparations, he said, guiding her toward the dining room. Well, we'll be the judge of that, won't we? Martha replied coolly, her gaze locking on mine for just a fraction too long. Adam's father, John, followed quietly, a man of few words overshadowed by his wife's formidable presence. We sat down to dinner, and the initial small talk was strained but polite. Adam carved the chicken with a show of ceremony while I served the sides. The conversation remained light. Work, weather, the latest family news. So, Tia, how's the job hunt going? Lucas asked, genuinely interested. It's going. I've had a few interviews, so fingers crossed, I responded, trying to keep the mood upbeat. That's good to hear. It's important to stay busy, don't you think? Martha interjected, her tone implying more than her words. I nodded, feeling the tension rising beside me from Adam. As the meal progressed, the atmosphere grew heavier. Martha's comments became more pointed, each one a thinly veiled critique. It's nice that you tried with the decor, Tia. But sometimes less is more, she remarked, casting a glance at the carefully chosen centerpieces. Yeah, it's unique, Adam added, catching me off guard. A lump formed in my throat. This wasn't going as I had hoped. The critiques continued, subtle but unrelenting, and I could feel the weight of the entire family's eyes on me, Adam's included. Each glance was heavier than the last, and I wasn't sure how much more I could take. But little did I know, the worst was yet to come. Desperate to steer the conversation to safer ground, I passed the mashed potatoes to Sophie. So, Sophie, have you guys decided on a vacation spot yet? I heard you were planning something for the summer. She smiled, clearly grateful for the change in topic. Yeah, we're thinking about Hawaii. It's been a dream for a while. Before Sophie could elaborate, Martha cut in. It's always nice to see children who manage their finances well enough to afford such trips. It's all about priorities, isn't it? The room stiffened. Adam's fork paused midair as he glanced between his mother and me, a silent plea for peace in his eyes. I guess it is, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Martha's next jab came quickly, her voice dripping with condescension. Speaking of priorities, Tia, maybe if you focused more on your career than on kitchen experiments, you'd contribute more significantly. I felt Adam's hand rest on my knee under the table, a silent request to let it go. But the jabs kept coming, each one a needle pricking at my composure. And these decorations, quite ambitious for a weekday dinner, don't you think? Martha surveyed the room, a faint sneer on her lips. I forced a smile, though it felt brittle. I enjoy making our home welcoming. It's important to me. Finally, John spoke, his voice quiet and tentative. The house does look nice, Tia. Thank you. John's attempt at kindness didn't linger long. The real climax of the evening arrived with dessert. My grandmother's famous apple pie, a recipe that had never failed to win hearts. But tonight it was just another battleground. Tia, Is this supposed to be so rustic? Martha poked her piece with a fork, her tone mocking. It's an old family recipe, I explained, my patience wearing thin. It's meant to be simple and homey. Adam, sensing the tension, chimed in with a nervous edge in his voice. Mom, Tita worked really hard on it. It's good. Hard work doesn't always mean good results, does it? Martha's gaze locked on mine, her words a challenge. I opened my mouth to respond, but what happened next froze the room. In one swift motion, Adam stood, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. The sharp sound was a prelude to something far worse. Respect my mother, Tia. His voice boomed through the room, and then his hand struck my cheek. The slap was deafening, echoing off the walls, a sound that would resonate in my memory forever. Silence engulfed the room. My hand flew to my face, the sting of the slap less painful than the shock of his betrayal. I looked around the table. Lucas, Sophie, and John sat frozen, their faces a mix of horror and disbelief. No one moved. No one defended me. Adam's voice broke the silence, softer now, pleading. I'm sorry, T. I didn't mean. But I was already standing, my chair pushed back abruptly. The room spun, the faces around me blurring into a tableau of a night gone terribly wrong. No, Adam. You made your choice. My voice was calm, eerily calm, as I spoke over the lump in my throat. I turned to his family. Their shocked faces remained motionless, none of them offering comfort or support. Enjoy the rest of your evening, I said, my tone final. I grabbed my purse and walked away from the table, from the house, from the life I had tried so hard to build with a man who had just shown me his true colors. The cool night air hit my face as I stepped outside, the door closing quietly behind me, a soft, inevitable end to a chapter that had to close. When I arrived at Laura's apartment, the relief was instant, like shedding a heavy coat after a long winter day. Laura, my closest friend and confidant, greeted me with open arms and a silent understanding that spoke louder than any words. You're safe here, Tia. Let's get you settled, she said, her voice soothing, a stark contrast to the chaos I'd just left behind. I can't believe he actually did that, Laura. In front of everyone. I know, it's unthinkable. But you're here now, and you can stay as long as you need, she reassured me as she led me to the guest room. Her small apartment suddenly felt like the safest place on earth. Over the next few days, my phone was flooded with messages from Adam. Apologies, please, promises to change. Each one remained unopened, a small victory in my newfound resolve. But it wasn't just Adam who reached out. Mutual friends began sharing stories and insights that painted a broader picture of the man I thought I knew. Tia, I never mentioned this before, but at the last office party, Adam got really defensive when someone complimented your career ambitions. Jen, a mutual friend, confided over coffee. He said something about how a wife shouldn't outshine her husband. Mark, another friend whose opinion I valued, added his own perspective. I've seen him undermine you. At your housewarming last year, he dismissed your ideas in front of everyone. I didn't say anything then. I thought it was just stress. But now, each revelation was another piece of a puzzle I hadn't wanted to solve, but the picture was becoming clearer and more disturbing. With Laura's encouragement, I began taking concrete steps toward independence. She helped me schedule a consultation with a divorce lawyer, a woman known for her no-nonsense approach and compassion. We'll need to document everything, Tia, Miss Reynolds, the lawyer, advised during our first meeting. Any messages, emails, instances where Adam's behavior could be construed as controlling or abusive. It's going to be tough, but I'm here to help you through it. I understand, and I'm ready. I can't go back to that. To him. My voice was firm, even though inside I felt fragile. But my resolve was hardening, strengthened by betrayal. As I navigated the legal maze of divorce, I found support in unexpected places. Neighbors who had heard the commotion that night reached out, offering kind words, and some shared their own experiences with toxic relationships. Their stories, much like my own, were woven into a tapestry of resilience. You know, Tia, leaving was the hardest part, but it gets better. I promise, said Maggie, an older neighbor who had left a toxic marriage 20 years ago. Her words gave me hope. Through it all, Laura remained my anchor. Her apartment became a sanctuary where I could heal and plan my next steps. I'm thinking of starting that online business I've always talked about, Laura. Maybe now's the time. That's the spirit, Tia. turn this mess into a message. You've got so much to offer. Each day, the shock and pain of that night faded, replaced by a cautious optimism for the future. Adam's attempts to contact me became less frequent as he began to realize that his apologies were falling on deaf ears. I was moving forward, slowly but surely. The painful memories of that dinner had become the catalyst for a new, empowered beginning. Months passed since I had walked out of Adam's life, and the ripple effects were more profound than I had imagined. The peace I found in rebuilding was occasionally disrupted by updates from mutual friends detailing Adam's downward spiral. "Hey Tia, have you heard about Adam? He got fired last week. They said his performance tanked ever since, you know." Jen's voice trailed off over the phone. "No," I said quietly, "I hadn't heard." "But I can't say I'm surprised," I replied, my voice devoid of satisfaction, just a sad acknowledgement of how deeply our toxic dynamics had entangled his life. Meanwhile, the shift in the community was palpable. Martha and her family, once central figures in social circles, now found themselves on the outskirts. Their attempts to smear my name had backfired spectacularly as more people came forward with stories of their own encounters with the family's toxicity. "You were the talk of the last PTA meeting, Tia. Everyone's supporting you." Even Martha got an earful when she tried to play the victim. Laura recounted with a hint of glee. "It wasn't revenge I was after, but the truth had a way of liberating not just me, but the whole community." As for my new beginning, it was unfolding more with each passing day. I had launched my online business, a boutique graphic design firm, working out of a quaint studio overlooking downtown. The work was more than just a job. It was a declaration of my independence. "Your new logo designs are fresh, Tia. Looks like you're really hitting your stride," Mark commented during a visit to my studio, his eyes scanning the colorful prints adorning the walls. "Thanks, Mark. It feels good to create again, to build something that's all mine," I replied, pride infusing my voice. The bright ambience of my workspace was a stark contrast to the dim evenings spent under Martha's critical gaze. One afternoon, while arranging a new display in my studio window, I saw Adam. He was across the street, unmistakably thinner, his steps uncertain. Our eyes met briefly, and I saw a flicker of regret, perhaps even longing, before he turned away. Back inside, the bell above my studio door chimed. Laura had dropped by with coffee, her ever-present support always a comfort. "Saw Adam outside. You okay?" she asked, her voice gentle. "Yeah, I'm okay. It's strange seeing him now. It's like looking at someone from another life." "People are talking, Tia. They say he's moving back in with his parents. Martha's not taking it well, especially after what happened with her social circle." "That part of my life is over, Laura. What matters now is this," I said, gesturing around my studio, "and the future I'm building. And you're building a great one, Tia. Everyone can see that." As Laura and I sipped our coffees, the afternoon sun cast warm patterns across the floor. I felt a deep sense of peace. The journey here had been fraught with pain and betrayal, but also with growth and vindication. My past with Adam, once a defining chapter of my life, now felt like a distant backdrop to the vibrant reality I was living. In the end, fate had delivered its justice, not through dramatic gestures, but through the simple, steady accumulation of choices, Adam's and mine. And as I turned my gaze back to my work, to the life I had reclaimed and was continuously redefining, I knew that the best retribution was a life well lived, free from the shadows of the past. Now that the story has reached its conclusion, here's something to think about. Do you believe that cutting toxic people out of your life, as Tia did, is always the best solution? Or are there times when trying to repair the relationship is worth the effort? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below.